Welcome to the deep dive. We take a whole stack of sources, articles, research notes, you name it, and basically pull out the most important bits, the key insights just for you.
Mhm.
And today, wow, we're tackling an incredible story. It's about this man who, starts as an outsider from this island far away and somehow becomes the Emperor of France.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Exactly. Our mission here is to give you a real shortcut to being well informed about him. We'll uncover some surprising stuff, explore just how complex he was.
That's right. We'll be digging into, well, everything, really. Where he came from, which is maybe not what you'd expect. His personality, how we shot up through the ranks.
Has complicated personal life too, right?
Oh, definitely. And of course, the military campaigns, the famous ones, the disasters. And then there's his legacy, which, I mean, people still argue about fiercely today. It's a massive story of ambition, power, impact.
Okay, let's maybe start right at the beginning then. When we think Napoleon, we picture, the French leader. But his origins, they were actually quite different, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was born in Corsica. And Corsica had only become French like a year before he was even born.
Wow, okay, so not exactly heartland France.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And his first language wasn't even French. It was Corsican, or possibly Italian. He came from this large Corsican family. Prominent, yes, but definitely not wealthy.
Interesting.
And a really key thing, sources point to his mother, Letizia Romolino, as being the real dominant force in the family.
Ah.
Yeah, and that strong relationship, it really influenced who he chose later, especially Josephine. Like, he was drawn to strong women.
So you've got this kid, right, but from what sounds like a, somewhat provincial background,
Yeah.
and then he gets shipped off to mainland France for school. I can only imagine the culture shock. Sources say he was bullied for his accent.
Yeah, apparently so. He had a Corsican accent, stood out, and descriptions of him then paint a picture of someone quite introverted, moody even, kept to himself a lot.
So how does that kid, feeling like an outsider, maybe a bit isolated, how does that shape the Napoleon we know later?
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because even though he was a bit of a loner, you get these stories from school.
Yeah.
Like him organizing these incredibly elaborate snowball fights.
Snowball fights.
Yeah, but like with military tactics. It sounds funny, but it shows that even then, he had this instinct for strategy, for command. Even when he was on the outer, he knew how to lead.
So the signs were there early on.
Definitely. A brilliant mind, no doubt. But also, maybe a bit hot-headed. Cunning. Learned to navigate things, perhaps because he felt like an outsider.
Right. Okay, fast forward a bit. When we picture Napoleon, the image is so specific, isn't it? It's almost like a brand. The hat, the hand tucked in the waistcoat. That hat, for instance, it was worn sideways, right?
Yeah.
Transversely, not front to back like most people.
That's right. And that wasn't an accident. Our sources suggest it was a very deliberate choice.
Why? Just to be different?
Pretty much. To stand out. To create this instantly recognizable silhouette on the battlefield. So his troops could spot him immediately. It was pure image crafting.
Clever. And the hand in the waistcoat thing, I feel like I've always heard that was because he had stomach problems or something.
Yeah, that's the classic myth. But no, the sources we looked at really debunk that. It was actually, well, it was just considered good manners back then, a polite posture.
Really? Just being polite.
Yeah, a gesture of refinement, sort of calm authority. He might have even learned it at his school, La Salle, which apparently had some pretty strict rules about conduct and posture. So less about a bad tummy, more about looking composed and in control.
Huh. So even his posture was, in a way, strategic. Part of the persona.
You could definitely see it that way.
Okay, so this disciplined, strategic mind, kind of forged in isolation, then finds its moment in the chaos of the French Revolution. He goes to military school in Paris.
Right at the Champ de Mars.
And he starts getting noticed, backed by some big names in the Revolution, like Robespierre even.
Yes, his military skills were obvious, and he knew how to seize an opportunity, especially after Robespierre fell and the Reign of Terror ended. Paris was, well, chaotic, wild celebrations, but also instability.
Right, the Directory was in charge then, and they weren't exactly stable.
Not at all. They were struggling. And there was this figure, CS, who had this idea for a sort of political coup to pressure the parliament, change the constitution legally.
Okay.
But Napoleon, he saw it differently. He wasn't interested in just pressuring. He brought the military in, used soldiers, and basically kicked out the opposition.
Yeah.
He turned a political plan into a swift, decisive military takeover.
Wow. Just like that.
Just like that. No messing around.
And that's how he becomes first consul. Basically the leader of France.
Effectively, yes.
And it sounds like he just threw himself into the job with, incredible intensity. The sources mention him working almost nonstop, eating in 5 minutes, changing clothes constantly because he was sweating so much.
Yeah, the work ethic was apparently phenomenal. He was absolutely driven to stabilize France after all the chaos, rebuild the country.
And he achieved a lot during that time as consul.
Oh, hugely.
Yeah.
He set up major institutions, the Senate, the Council of State, reformed education with high schools, universities. But I think the biggest thing, the most lasting achievement from that period has to be the Civil Code.
The Napoleonic Code.
Exactly.
Oh.
That was monumental. It wasn't just laws. It was about cementing the gains of the revolution. Things like personal freedom, equality before the law.
Yeah.
It created a unified legal system France desperately needed. And its influence spread, well, everywhere. Still felt today.
It's amazing how much he packed into that period. Okay, so from nation building on this grand scale, let's shift to his personal life, because that seems just as dramatic.
If not more so in some ways.
His love for Josephine, it's legendary, isn't it? She was older, had kids already, and you mentioned she resembled his mother.
Yeah, there's that interesting parallel. And his letters to her, they're famous, just incredibly passionate, intense. You really feel the depth of his feeling.
But his family wasn't keen, especially his mother.
Not at all. They really didn't approve. A big part of it was that Josephine couldn't give him an heir, which was crucial for Napoleon's ambitions.
Right.
There's even this detail. Apparently, for the wedding, Josephine might have knocked a few years off her age on paper, and Napoleon added a bit to his, just to make the gap seem smaller.
Managing the narrative even then.
Exactly. It's very telling.
But that need for an heir,
Yeah.
it eventually broke them up, didn't it? The divorce sounds incredibly painful. One source describes this quiet dinner and Josephine just fainting when he tells her.
Yeah, it's a powerful image. It must have been devastating for both of them, really.
Yeah.
Politics demanded it, but the personal cost was clearly huge.
So he needed an heir for the dynasty.
Precisely. So he marries Marie-Louise of Austria, grandniece of Marie Antoinette, ironically enough.
Wow.
And they do have a son fairly quickly, Napoleon II, the King of Rome. So dynastically, mission accomplished.
But what about his feelings? Did the passion for Josephine just disappear?
Well, despite marrying Marie-Louise, and despite that initial intense love for Josephine, Napoleon reportedly had quite a few mistresses. Some were apparently even sort of arranged by his sister, who really didn't like Josephine. So it's complex, this constant tension maybe between his personal feelings, political needs, and, well, other desires.
A very complicated picture. Okay, let's move to another huge part of his story.
Yeah.
The military campaigns. That's what he's arguably most famous for.
Absolutely. His genius on the battlefield is undeniable.
Those early campaigns in Italy, for instance, he was welcomed there, wasn't he, as a liberator?
Initially, yes. Liberating them from Austrian rule. There were reports of people in Milan singing the French national anthem when he arrived. Quite the entrance.
And then Egypt, that was different, not just military.
No, that was fascinating. He took scientists, scholars, archaeologists with him. That's how the Rosetta Stone was discovered, which was obviously monumental for understanding ancient Egypt.
Right, I forgot that connection.
Yeah, and here's another wild detail from Egypt. He seriously considered converting his entire army to Islam.
Get out! Why?
Purely political, to win over the locals, gain support.
Yeah.
But he dropped the idea. Apparently, the requirements giving up wine and observing fasting were just too impractical for his French soldiers. Pragmatism won out.
Wow, that says a lot about him, doesn't it? Anything for an advantage.
Pretty much. That pragmatic, sometimes ruthless approach defined his campaigns. Some were brilliant successes, others less so, like the Continental blockade against Britain.
Trying to cripple them economically.
Exactly, by stopping trade. But it meant invading Spain and Portugal to enforce it, and ultimately, it backfired. Didn't work.
And then the really big disaster, Russia.
Oh, the Russian campaign, that was catastrophic, just an absolute turning point. He invaded, but the Russians retreated, burning everything.
Scorched her.
Precisely. And then the Russian winter hit. His massive army was decimated, starvation, freezing cold, relentless attacks. It was a devastating blow, huge loss of life. Shattered the image of invincibility.
A monumental failure, which leads us towards his downfall, but also his resilience is pretty incredible too. After that first major defeat, he's exiled, right? To Elba.
Yes, the island of Elba. Relatively small place.
And even there, he's still writing to Josephine.
He was. It shows that connection lingered, despite everything. Though tragically, she actually passed away while he was in exile on Elba. He never saw her again.
Oh, wow. But then he escapes Elba. That's just movie stuff.
It really is astonishing. He lands back in France. The king, Louis VIII, sends troops to arrest him. And the troops get there, see Napoleon, and instead of arresting him, they start chanting, Vive l'Empereur! Long live the Emperor! They just defected on the spot.
Incredible. His charisma must have been unbelievable.
Absolutely magnetic, especially with his soldiers. So Louis VIII flees. Napoleon walks back into Paris. The 100 Days begin.
But it ends, of course, at Waterloo, in Belgium, his final, definitive defeat.
That's the one. Waterloo.
And our sources mention something interesting, that he might have been ill during the battle. Stomach issues again, giving orders from his tent.
Yeah, there are reports of that. He was apparently suffering quite badly. How much it affected the outcome, well, historians still debate it. But it suggests he wasn't maybe at his peak, not directing things from the front with his usual energy and sharp eye. Tactical errors were certainly made.
And after Waterloo, no second chances this time.
No. This time, exile was much further away. The remote island of St. Helena, in the middle of the South Atlantic, basically ensuring he couldn't come back again.
And that's where he died, writing his memoirs.
Yes, the Memorial of St. Helena, dictating his version of history, shaping his legacy even in exile. He was initially buried there, quite simply.
But he didn't stay there.
No. Years later, in 1840, there was this huge dramatic event where his remains were brought back to Paris, a massive state occasion. And he was reinterred in Les Invalides, in this incredibly grand tomb where you can still see him today, a powerful symbol of his enduring place in French history.
So let's talk about that legacy, because it's still really debated, isn't it? Even in France.
Hugely debated. Is he a national hero, the great reformer, the military genius who brought glory to France? Or was he a dictator? A tyrant whose wars cost countless lives.
I remember reading that the 200th anniversary of his death recently sparked quite a bit of controversy. Like, should they even be officially celebrating him?
Exactly. There are very strong feelings on both sides. But whatever your view, his impact, especially on Paris, is just undeniable.
You see it everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, the Arc de Triomphe. Metro stations named after his victories, Austerlitz, Jena, the Vendôme column made from captured cannons. He literally reshaped the city.
And he used art, too, didn't he? Commissioning those huge paintings.
Absolutely. Think of Jacques-Louis David's massive painting, The Coronation of Napoleon. Grand propaganda, really. And interestingly, it shows his mother looking on approvingly.
But didn't you say she didn't approve of Josephine? And
She didn't? And she actually refused to attend the coronation because of her dislike for Josephine. But Napoleon had David paint her in any way, controlling the image, rewriting history even as it happened.
Incredible. And what about the Napoleon complex? We hear that phrase all the time.
Ah, yes. The idea that shorter men are overly aggressive to compensate.
Is there any truth to it regarding him? Was he actually short?
Well, that's largely a myth, too, mostly started by British propaganda during the wars. They wanted to caricature him, make him seem small. In reality, he was about 168 centimeters, so around 5'6".
Which was
Pretty much average height for a Frenchman at the time, maybe slightly above average even. But the complex idea stuck. Show you how powerful propaganda can be, lasts for centuries.
It really does. And his global fame, it's not just France, is it? I saw something about one of his hats selling for a fortune recently.
Yes. One of his iconic bicorn hats sold for, I think it was 1.5 million euros.
Wow.
And the buyer was South Korean. It just shows his reach. He's not just a French figure. He's a global historical icon. His story still fascinates people everywhere.
So when we wrap this all up, this incredible journey, from that island outsider to emperor, the triumphs, the disasters, the legacy, it's a story of just extreme ambition, isn't it? And perseverance.
Absolutely. And that duality you mentioned, military genius, reformer, but also the guy who grabbed absolute power, whose ambition led to so much conflict.
His story still really resonates today, influencing how we think about leadership, power, history itself.
Definitely.
So maybe the thought to leave everyone with is this. As we look back at Napoleon's incredible rise and, well, equally dramatic fall, what does his story really tell us about that tricky line between ambition, achieving great things, wielding power, and the kind of impact, good or bad, that lasts long after you're gone? And how do these stories from history keep shaping our world right now?